Hello, hello. Welcome into the spread again for week 6 of the NFL. I'm Andre Khatchaturian. He's Mike Cole. We're about to give you some of the best bets for week 6 of the NFL season. Mike, how are you this week?
I'm great, great. We're into the flow of things. It's finally starts to feel like football season today. We got some rain, some cold weather. Yeah, I think there
Yeah.
might be chili on the menu this weekend. So
Yeah, it actually feels like the weather from week 1, which was I don't know if
yeah,
you remember.
that is the crazy part. Yeah, we kind of we had a little tease of it, then we went back to summer for a few weeks, and now we're back. So
Yeah, it's been a warm time here in New England. We're recording this Wednesday, October 8th. And we're gonna discuss some of the three biggest games. Not a great schedule this week, Mike, but I was looking at a lot of these betting lines. There aren't a lot of good bets. It's going to be really hard this week. I feel like last week was tough. A lot of upsets happened. A lot of
yeah,
underdogs covered. Maybe Vegas lost a ton of money last week, and this week I think they're about to get their revenge. I'm leaning favorites. Just looking at these lines, but again, I have no idea. It's because so many underdogs have won and have covered. Um, I, I overall might just stay away for the most part, but Sunday afternoon will come and I'll get excited
yeah.
and put a bunch of money on bets. But I don't know. What do you think of the slate this week? I that's kind of what I saw when I looked at it.
Yeah, I think it's begging for some overreaction too. You know what I mean? Like I think one thing I've kind of rushed to do, and this one I probably won't bet it because I'll talk myself out of it because it's going to be tough to put any money on the Saints. But like you look at that as an example of like a game last week where the Patriots came out and they were one of those teams that pulled off an upset, like you said, and now we're spending this entire week talking about how the Patriots are back, life's good again in New England and Foxborough, and like there's a very good chance that they absolutely beat the brakes off of the Saints because I think the Saints are that bad. But I think there's just as equal amount of chance that like the Patriots aren't there yet. And like if that's the case, those are the types of teams that step back right away the next, kind of get dragged back to reality real fast. And it's almost like a learning experience where you have to learn how to go win in Buffalo and win a big game, but you also have to learn how to deal with expectations. And those things don't always go hand in hand at the same time. So like I think you're going to get a lot of that this week with some of the overreaction, so to speak. Like even you want to talk about like the Broncos Jets game on
Yeah,
paper doesn't look like much, but that's a what is that? Are they in London? Yeah,
that's
it's
a
in
London
London.
game.
Um, Jets seemingly have nothing to play for. The Broncos are feeling themselves after beating the Super Bowl champs last week. What are the Broncos? Six and a
Seven
half
and a
point
half, six and
favorites.
a
Like,
half.
yeah, that's a tricky little line there. So I think there's a handful of like speed bumps, so to speak, across the board. And you know what, too? If I could, pick a nit, we need to like nip this Monday Night Football thing in the bud. Like I'm getting so sick of the Monday Night Football doubleheaders. We have that again this week. We got Bills, Falcons, and Bears, Commanders. Which, like, if you take those four teams and find a game out of those four teams, you could probably get a pretty good one. Instead, you have two just average games at best for those teams. I know like the Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels thing isn't going to get a lot of play on that second one, but I think if I'm not mistaken, let me just pull it up right now. I think we're doing it again next week. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
another
I think
Monday
it
Night
happens a few
Football,
more times.
and we have next week we go back to the early late one, which is. I mean, I will not watch a second of Texans Seahawks. I can guarantee right now. That game starts at 10 p.m. So, um, I don't know what the deal is with that. I should probably do a little more research into the fact that like the NFL clearly thinks that there's money to be made with that doubleheader nonsense, but I'm over it. So that's kind of my takeaways for this week.
And by doing that, you're making the Sunday slate the Sunday
Yeah,
slate
exactly. That's
not
my
as
biggest
good.
issue with it.
You have
Yeah.
Bo Nix in a London game, and then on
Right.
Thursday night you have the Eagles playing on Thursday night. That's
Right.
a prime game. So you're taking Jalen Hurts out of the Sunday window. Your Sunday night you have Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff. Josh Allen's playing on Monday. Jaden Daniels is playing on Monday. Like, what do you have for the Sunday 1 o'clock window? It kind of makes that red zone window. You only have one, two, three, four, five. you have 7 games early, 3 games late next week, but it's a lot of Titans and Panthers and Bengals and Browns. I mean, they're going to play at that time anyway, but usually have like 2 or 3 good games in that hour, and you
I'm,
just don't
I
have
mean,
it this week.
just this week, yeah. Like I don't like the 4 o'clock slate: Titans, Raiders, Packers, Bengals, 49ers, Bucks.
49ers
Like
Bucks is a fantastic game.
it's
Any game
it's
featuring the
yeah, but
Bucks.
like but then don't put it's yeah. I guess you have to because of the time zones, but it's just weird that they're like putting out sacrificial lambs, for yeah that. But like
I
I
also
do
feel
agree,
like
like
that Bengals Packers was scheduled for
yeah,
4:30
yeah,
in the offseason when we thought it was going to be Joe Burrow versus
hundred
Jordan Love.
percent. I think that was the case, and it's also one of those ones where it's like CBS probably wants to get a handful of Packers games, but it's weird like that. Uh, the 49ers Bucks game, if I'm not mistaken, is like the Nance Romo game because Kevin Harlan's doing the Packers game. So like, yeah, it's just I think there's as much value in like that game, or nearly as much value in that game as there is in like the Sunday night game at this point. Obviously, like the numbers aren't quite as good, but like it feels like in the last few years they've really leaned into that 4:30 Sunday afternoon game too, as like a standalone, despite going up against a couple of other games. So.
Yeah, and if you're not doing fantasy or betting, that 1 o'clock slate, we'll do something else this weekend. I feel like
Which is a bummer because, like, as somebody in my point of life, like as a nearly a 40-year old with not a whole lot of a social life, and a child who still takes a nap, like the 1 o'clock slate is the time I have to watch the most amount of football
yeah,
outside of prime time. And yeah, like this past week was if if the Broncos didn't make that comeback, it would have been a
it was
horrendous,
brutal.
horrendous slate of football.
But week 1 and 2 were great, and you can't blame
Yeah.
the NFL that Lamar Jackson's hurt because that
Yeah, I
Rams
was gonna
Ravens
say
game,
Rams Ravens looks great with it, if that's
even that
plays
Chargers
out a certain way.
Dolphins. Like, speaking of weird lines, I know the Chargers offensive line is only 3.5, but they're coming off 2 losses, going to Miami. Then again, it's that whole West Coast team going to the East Coast. A lot of weird lines this week.
Yeah.
Stay away from all of them. We should just end the show right now, but we won't. We'll talk about another 1 p.m. game that it features 2 good teams if you look at their records. But I think I think there's a good chance neither of these teams, when it's all said and done, will be in the playoffs. We have the Seattle Seahawks, 3-2, go into Jacksonville where they'll take on the 4-1 Jaguars, coming off a signature victory against the Kansas City Chiefs at home. Maybe Trevor Lawrence's coming out party. Who knows? We'll see. But they are 1.5 point favorites at Everbank Stadium. It'll be 78 degrees and nice in Jacksonville. The Seahawks, they after a Thursday night victory against the Cardinals, played maybe the game of the year, definitely the game of the week against Tampa Bay. Absolute shootout, losing 38-35. So they're coming off a loss. Jaguars coming off a win. What do you think happens in this game, Mike?
I like the Seahawks, to be honest with you. You know, I think this is a big letdown spot for the Jags. We talked about this last week. We had I think we were did you I forget. I know I was on the Jags. I don't know if you were
I was on
too.
the Jags as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like this feels like the perfect opportunity to zag. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier with like the Patriots on just a slightly different scale, but it's like the Jags, that was their Super Bowl. And that doesn't mean that like they're absolutely going to come back down to earth the next week. Maybe they are just good and that is what it is, but like it doesn't get any more noticeable than this, where it's the Chiefs, who like the capital all caps Chiefs on Monday Night Football, an emotional, like exhausting effort, short week now, and you're back in like a sleepy 1 o'clock game against a team that is good, but like doesn't come with that same amount of oomph, so to speak. It feels like a trap, and I think you can make the argument at this point, like Seattle is just as good or just as capable of beating a team like Jacksonville as the Chiefs are. And to be honest with you, like if you go back and I'll hit on this a little bit later when we get to the Chiefs game, but like the Chiefs more or less outplayed the Jaguars, which is also to say like the Jags didn't play
Yes.
their best game on Monday night. Even Liam Cohen came into the I don't know if you watched his post game locker room speech. He said it's not always pretty, but we found winning feels good, and we have some things that we have to fix. And it's like I'm not sure if this is the spot for them to fix it. Going up against a really good coaching staff as well. Seattle is extremely well coached, and you look at that within the coaching kind of bears itself out in a handful of ways. But for me, I was looking at penalties. The Jags are the seventh most penalized team in the NFL. Seattle, meanwhile, the third fewest penalties in the NFL. They've actually been better away from home, which is kind of not what you would expect.
Yeah.
And sure, it's a small sample size, but it's not to say that they've been much better at home and bad on the road. A big issue last week for me, looking at that Seattle game, was the defense. They just could not stop Baker Mayfield in that passing attack. No. I know they're banged up defensively. They had a couple more injuries last week as well. I'm not entirely sure that the Jaguars can take as much of advantage of that as the Bucs did last week. I'm buying into like the progression for the Jags. I'm not buying into the fact that they are all the way here yet. They win this game, they go a long way in proving it to me. I just think, again, this is one of those ones where it's like when you're early on in this process, it's very hard to win back-to-back games, especially coming off of such an emotionally charged game. I like what the Seahawks have done. I think Sam Darnold's playing better than Trevor Lawrence did, for all the talk about Trevor Lawrence's coming out game. By the way, can you have a coming out game when you're like
26 years old?
Career? Yeah, like I didn't think he was great, So
I would say actually his coming out game was that comeback against the Chargers.
100%. But then what has he done since then?
Nothing.
He went back in, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think Darnold's playing better than he is. I think this is, you look at the Seahawks this year. When they beat teams, they usually beat up on them. They beat the Steelers by 2 touchdowns. They absolutely murdered the Saints. Just squeaked by the Cardinals. Their 2 losses last week and then week 1 against the 49ers. I think this Jags team for now at least falls closer into like that Steelers Cardinals thing, so I think they find a way to win that as well. If they do, they'll have three road wins, which is pretty impressive. I think I'm starting to buy into the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I've bought into either team, but I think the Seahawks do cover. I agree with a lot of what you said. You said everything that I was going to say, especially the Jaguars kind of having a lucky win. If Mahomes doesn't throw a pick 6 in the goal line, which he never does, that's a 14-point swing right there, and the Chiefs win. And we're not even talking about the Jaguars being a 4-1 team. But I think like you said, Monday night victory, big emotional win. Maybe this is a step back, like you said. And Seattle coming off a big loss. One thing that does scare me is Seattle going from the West Coast to the East Coast and playing a 1:00 game. That doesn't usually help West Coast teams. You already saw the Chargers losing once this year when they went from LA to New York and they got upset by the Giants. But I do think, like you brought up already, the Seahawks are a good road team, and I think they will not even cover, but I could see them absolutely winning this game with ease and getting back on track. That's a tough division with the Niners and the Rams, and this is a must win for them if they want to keep up with them, because the Rams are playing against a team without a quarterback, and the 49ers are 4-1. So if you want to keep up in that division, you have to win this game. And I'm sure when the Seahawks, the schedule came out in April, they looked at this game against the Jaguars, and most Seahawks fans probably marked this as a W. And I don't think that should change, especially coming into this week. So, and for what it's worth, Seahawks, number 2 in the NFL in yards per play differential. You know how much you hate when I bring up that stat, but the Jaguars, despite being 4-1, have a negative yards per play differential.
Yeah.
So that kind of fits into what what you said about that Chiefs-Jags game. They got outplayed. Chiefs had more yards than they did, and they still somehow won. So maybe the Jaguars are getting a little bit lucky. I think they are. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, and I don't think the Seahawks will either, but that's just mostly because a lot of good teams in the NFC.
Go ahead. One other point with the schedule. I thought this was the case, and I must have just misread it. And now I'm double checking it with the Jags, with like that letdown spot. They also have the dreaded letdown / look ahead. Next week they are going to London to take on the Rams. So like first year head coach doing the London thing for the first time, you wonder if they're completely locked in on Sunday at 1:00. So that's just something to keep in mind too. Maybe at least offsets the Seattle going east thing.
We move forward to 4:25 p.m. Eastern time in Tampa, Florida. We're staying in Florida, so a lot of sunny weather here, 85 degrees, and it's going to be nice in Tampa. I love this game. I don't know, not betting wise, just watching wise. The San Francisco 49ers and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Both teams 4-1. You have another West Coast team going to the East. And I think there's another situation. You have the Chargers playing at the Dolphins. Um, and I guess the Cardinals playing the Colts. Does that really count? And the Rams playing the Ravens. You have a lot of West at East this week for
The Rams, I think, are staying in Baltimore. I thought I saw a headline that they're playing around at Camden Yards, something about Camden Yards and the Rams. So that's something to keep in mind as you're capping. And I would imagine they stayed over there because they're going to London next week too. So it's the 2-week
right.
road trip thing.
Yes.
So maybe.
Okay, so maybe they have that camaraderie going.
Yeah.
But Bucks coming off a very exciting victory again. All their wins are exciting, and all their losses are all their games have been exciting.
Yeah.
Every single game decided by one possession. Hosting the 49ers. And I think both of us in that Bucks Seahawks game last week, we said that this isn't sustainable for the Bucks. They can't be playing all these exciting games every week. And it wears on you. But they ended up winning that game against Seattle. And now it's a tough one against the 49ers. Very, they're known to be a very physical team. They're getting healthy. What is the spread? 3.5 points in favor of Tampa. This is a tough one. It's 2.5 points.
Yeah.
But that's still tough. But I think that point does change a lot for me. I would go Bucks -2.5. What do you think?
I'm laying the points. I'll take Tampa at 2.5. That's what I have it as. So I'm locking it as 2.5. And if you want to bump it up to 3.5, I still might take them because I just haven't been impressed with the 49ers. Well, I should probably rephrase that. For what they've done, it's impressive. You know what I mean? Playing without their starting quarterback, having Mac Jones come in and look pretty good has been impressive. And they've probably won some games that they didn't deserve to win. And that's the sort of thing that if Purdy comes back and can get healthy and they go on a run, you're well, they banked those wins earlier in the year and that really helped them. But on a week-to-week basis, there's nothing about them that inspires a ton of confidence moving forward. And I was digging into FTN once again because they did a DVOA, and I was reading Schatz's report about DVOA this week, and he actually, it was interesting. 5 or 6 games last week, they have this thing called post-game win expectancy. 5 or 6 games went the other way. The team that deserved to win didn't win, and coincidentally, it's every team that we're talking about this week. But the biggest or the least likely winner last week based on that win expectancy was the 49ers. The Rams were 91% to win that game. The Rams had more yards despite running 20 fewer plays. And then again, if that, it all came down to that one play, right? That's a
2 plays.
Yeah, right.
So Kyron Williams fumbled in the goal line, right. And then the 4th-and-1 play in overtime.
4th-and-1, yeah.
They could have kicked the field goal and.
Yeah. So the 49ers, like I said, credit to them for winning, but probably didn't deserve to win. Whereas Tampa Bay, I have more. Maybe the 49ers win this game and I look like an idiot, but I just have more confidence in the Bucks being able to reach some sort of floor. And that's a 28-point performance where they play okay defense. They're going to give up some big plays, but I think they're going to have more big plays on their own offense. You look at San Francisco, the injuries are on defense as well. And I think I saw this. I don't want to misspeak, but I think they've gone 12 straight games without forcing an interception, which I think is an NFL record. I know that's a very random stat, but I think it does speak to the fact that they're not doing a great job of taking the ball away. I think it speaks to the lack of talent or depth in their secondary. And if that's the case, I think having to go on the road and play a team like the Bucks that can, throw a handful of different variety or combinations of punches at you is not a great recipe for success. I think this is an opportunity for the Bucks to get, I don't even know if I would call it a signature win coming off of last week, but just a chance to kind of keep the momentum going. I think they're talented. I like Baker. I think that they have a pretty decisive advantage at a handful of positions. So I think the Bucks find a way to win this game and cover the 2.5.
Don't disagree with you at all. And we talk about the Bucks playing in a lot of one possession games. Every Niners game has been a one possession game
Yeah.
so far this year as well. So I expect an absolutely close game. But when you're looking at two teams who've played one possession games every game this year, you're probably going to side with the healthier team. And that's the Tampa Bay Bucks. 49ers are supposed to get healthier this week, but are they really that healthy? Like, they're still all banged up, in my opinion. I don't even know if Kittle will be ready, even though Tonjes has been fantastic. But even Christian McCaffrey, the guy's getting like 25 touches per game. He has a history of getting injured and being banged up. Like that, I don't know if that's the smartest strategy the 49ers are employing right now. You're going to run him to the ground and not have him when the games matter more in December and January. And if Mac Jones starts, can he realistically keep this up? I just trust Tampa Bay more, especially in these close situations, than I do San Francisco. And they'll be at home. They're the healthier team. Agbuka has shown that he's a clear number one. That Mike Evans injury, nobody even remembers it because Agbuka has,
I was just looking up the odds. I was like, is it too late to get down on a Ibuka Rookie of the Year bet? And it is. He's now a
yeah,
minus 110 odds on favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. So
he's fantastic. And
I mean, I think I saw somewhere Baker has a perfect passer rating when targeting him. It's been like
wow,
just
that's
he's been a game changer, especially with the injuries.
and we talk about injuries. I think Bucky Irving's been hurt
He
for
is. It doesn't sound
Tampa,
like he's going to play on Sunday
but
either.
but Rashad White stepped in and he
Yep.
had two
Yep.
touchdowns. So just
Yep.
Tampa has more depth and more comfortable with them. They're at home. They win by a field goal, but that covers the spread. I think that 1 point, if you see it change to 3.5, maybe I would switch over to the 49ers, but it'll be a close one. It'll be a fun game to watch. It'll be good viewing. Last game we're going to talk about today is the Sunday night football game between the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. Another, we talked about last week how the Chiefs might be looking ahead. Jaguars are probably the least pressure game on their schedule so far, and they ended up losing. They were sloppy. They threw up, they made uncharacteristic Chiefs mistakes. You never see the Chiefs make those mistakes. It was a Hollywood Brown who was running the ball, hit him in the head. I mean, things like that you never see the Chiefs do. So the Lions going to Kansas City. The Lions are 4-1. Chiefs are 2-3. The spread is Chiefs minus 2.5. It'll be 80 degrees on a very clear night in Arrowhead Stadium. I like the Chiefs in this one. I think it's a great bounce back spot. I still have questions about the Lions. Everyone thinks that they're the best team in the league, but they have not impressed me with their resume. The last 2 weeks, especially being the Browns and the Bengals, big deal. They did what they had to do. I think against teams like that, they're going to dominate, but they haven't faced a team like the Chiefs on the road since week one when they lost to Green Bay. So I think this is a big test for them. The Chiefs coming off a loss, they're going to be pissed off at home, Sunday Night Football. I think this might be a blowout.
I hope not, because that would stink. Because what a game. Like
this is what everybody wanted the Super Bowl to be like a few years
yeah,
ago.
that's a good point. I would like to be a voice of dissension just so we could kind of differ on something this week. But I'm with you. Like I don't have a whole lot to push back on there. I think we kind of talked about it earlier. Again, I was talking about like that expected win rate or whatever. Unsurprisingly, the Chiefs were the better team, at least by that sort of metric on Monday night. I don't know if I would call the loss fluky necessarily, but the Chiefs did outgain Jacksonville by nearly 150 yards, which that kind of checks out when you don't factor in a 99-yard interception return. If Mahomes doesn't throw that, completely different story. As you said, that's a 14-point swing. The game completely different. I mean, the Chiefs led that game at 1 point, 14-0. It's just they proved that 3 or 4 times in that game that they were capable of kind of running away with it. They just never got there, which again is a bit of a demerit. But I'm not putting too much stock into that moving forward. I think the bigger issue, or one of the bigger issues, is Detroit once again, like massive injury issues, especially in the secondary. So cornerback Terrion Arnold sounded like he was going to need season-ending shoulder surgery. He got a second opinion. Doesn't need surgery, but I think he's out for a while. I think they're down 4 of their top 5 cornerbacks, including DJ Reed. So that's tough. I know, like, we're not dealing with the Chiefs of 5 or 6 years ago at this point, but they've done a pretty nice job mixing in some of those pass catchers. It's again not anything to write home about necessarily, but they are getting big plays at a higher rate, at least than they were earlier in the season. You're starting to see a little bit of signs of life from Patrick Mahomes last 2 weeks, completing nearly 70% of his passes, 7.5 yards per attempt, passer rating up over 100. And also, I wonder too, small sample size, but is Detroit a much different defense on the road as opposed to at home? A yard per play difference from their home and road splits doesn't sound like doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about the difference between 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 5 and giving it up, like that's where you kind of feel it. So I think the Chiefs are going to sustain some pretty long drives here, kind of play keep away. The total here it's high, 52.5. I think
Yeah,
the Chiefs find a way to cover the number in a lower scoring game than maybe a lot of people might expect. I will also say too, if you like the Chiefs, you probably better hurry up and get them. They opened at 1.5, now it's up to 2.5. So if that gets up towards 3.5, I don't love it as much, but at 2.5, I'll take the Chiefs.
I agree. And we talked about the division, AFC, the NFC West. Now we're talking about the AFC West. The Chiefs, if they lose this game, the Chargers have the Dolphins this week, Broncos have the Jets. There's a chance they're 2 games behind. They know how
Yeah.
important this game is in order to keep pace in that division, and their schedule does not get easier after this week. They have the Commanders at the end of the month, then at Bills, at Broncos versus the Colts. So
Insane.
that's a very tough schedule. So these are important games for the Chiefs if they want to even make the playoffs, forget the division. They need to win these games, and they know how important it is. They're gonna be buttoned up. No stupid mistakes at the goal line this week. They won't turn the ball over, and I think they're gonna win handily. Coaching mismatch. You have a meathead versus a genius. You got to take the Chiefs, right?
That seems disrespectful to Dan Campbell, but
I,
it's a good take. At some point, do you think like the Chiefs? You just kind of like, let's just try sucking for a year and maybe we can get a better schedule. Like, I know a lot of it is the way it played out, and it's a pretty good division too, especially if the Chargers can get healthy. But like that to play on Thanksgiving and Christmas in the same season, it's kind of messed up. Like, you know what I mean? That's just, honestly, they're gonna probably end up playing on right around New Year's with that Week 18 game against the Raiders. But yeah,
I
play the
didn't think of
Cowboys
that. That's
game.
really that's really
Cowboys
funny.
game on Thanksgiving, and then have a Christmas Day game. At least it's at home against the Broncos. Is that's tough. Like, and it feels like they've played Christmas the last 10 years. I mean, throwing it like that's which is fine. You know what I mean? Like you deal with it, but like adding the Thanksgiving game is dirty pool.
That's really good. I didn't even think of that. And they have
So
to go
like
to
I would be like,
Brazil
let's
week
just
1.
suck for a couple of years, so we don't have to do this anymore.
I think that would be an option if Tom Brady didn't have the career he did, but they were
Yeah,
so. But that's also not fair because they had the Bills, Jets, and Dolphins in their division, and now the Chiefs have
I don't know.
the 4 Hall of Fame coaches in their division. It's just not
Yeah,
fair.
we were talking about that on the NPC Sports podcast, Ben's podcast that I do, where like Brady, I guess Brady's been talking about how like just football isn't as good as it used to be or whatever, which is whatever, old man. But like there's just not as much competition. It's like that's a pretty bold take from a guy who got to play the Bills, Jets, and Dolphins, 6 times a year for his
I know,
entire
right?
career when they're
I mean,
so.
just even the AFC for many years, it was just a 3-team
Him and
conference with
Peyton, and then like maybe the Steelers. Yeah,
maybe the Steelers. They won a couple Super Bowls. The
it was either the
Colts.
Steelers or the Ravens. It was never like them consistently. It felt like
Yeah, yes. It was one of those two plus the whatever team Peyton Manning was on and the Patriots. Like nobody
And they
else.
got to beat they just absolutely got to, stomp out the AFC South winner at Saturday night at Foxborough in early January or whatever.
Every
That
year it was the same. They beat the Titans,
divisional round game.
Texans.
Saturday night, 8:20 kick. Here come the Texans. Here come the Titans.
Here comes
You
Andrew
know?
Luck.
Yeah, right.
And then they beat the Jaguars in the AFC Championship game 1 year too.
Yeah, yeah, a game that they should have lost. By the way, like
They
there was
almost lost that game. Yeah.
that fumble or the yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, how about that Mark Sanchez story, huh?
I was actually going to ask you about that before we came on. If you've ever found yourself in that sort of situation where it feels like, of all the people I know, I feel like you doing wind sprints in an alley and potentially getting knifed over a delivery truck guy trying to clear out some air fryers or some fryer vats is
No, I
a
was
game of
usually.
Mad Libs. I think I could find you,
I
winning.
don't really consume alcohol anymore,
Nah,
but
not anymore. Yeah,
back in the day, I did. But I was always a very happy drunk. I
that's
was.
true.
It was
So I
all
could see you doing the wind sprints, but maybe not
maybe
the.
wind sprints. Maybe I would ask the delivery guy to do wind sprints with me. And
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
he would
Yeah.
still
You
stab
probably
me
would
for
have.
asking him.
The
But
worst thing that would have happened was you would have pulled a hamstring or something. Um,
yeah, I
the
was.
what like the timeline of that was insane. What was that last Saturday where it came out where it's like people are like Mark Sanchez might die, and it's like Mark Sanchez, great person. Wow, really praying for Mark Sanchez to pull through. Within like 45 minutes, is like actually he beat the hell out of a 69-year-old delivery guy that got stabbed for his efforts, and he's being charged with felonies now.
What an asshole. Sorry, he's
Yeah.
never liked him.
No, it's and clearly he's like I think he's battling some demons. If like you put yourself in that sort of position, there are some you're making some bad decisions in
How
your
old is
life
he?
where
He's got to be in his 40s, right?
he's
38
like
years old.
36. What was he?
38.
38.
So he's
He's
like
my
your
age.
age, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine you doing that. Um,
No, but
I, I, I can't imagine most 38 year olds doing that. So yeah, I
how
think
about
he
being
is.
Brady Quinn in that situation? Again, Brady Quinn got called in to do like that's a early morning Saturday call from your bosses at Fox. It's like, hey, we need you to get to Indy. Mark got stabbed. All
Well, yeah,
right.
he's a Fox. He has that Fox radio show.
Um,
The the what's it called?
do you think? Do you think
Two
Mark
pros and
Sanchez?
a cup of Joe.
Do you think Mark Sanchez watched that game on Sunday?
From the hospital bed.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
it's like I crammed for this. I might as well watch.
You know what's funny is a few years ago, I our old coworker Mark DiBenedetto, he did some stuff for Fox Stats, like stats for in the truck for NFL games. So he asked me to cover for him once, so I did. And after I did that, I keep getting emails for conduct training, sexual harassment, like and professional conduct training from Fox Sports. Every month I get. I haven't done it because I don't. I did it once and I'm never going to do it again.
Yeah, of course.
Fox still sends me emails every month to complete training. And I'm wondering if Mark Sanchez did that training. And last year we had that Fox scandal with Skip Bayless and Joy Taylor and all that stuff. It's like, why did they send it to? Do they do the training? Why do you keep asking me to do the training? I don't even.
I was gonna say you could take the Fox thing back a lot farther than last year too. Whether it's Fox Sports, Fox News, or Fox proper, they've had some trials and tribulations in the Rupert Murdoch era. So,
None of that stuff here on ASN. We're a good company. And thank you so much, Mike, for taking the time to give us your NFL insight and very well researched NFL insight. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. You carried the show today. Thank you, Mike.